I'm 8 minutes late, chat. Sorry about that, but it's like a good reason. Cause have you ever like walk down the street and you're in a rush, but you see something like a train wreck, like you see something horrible, and you just stop and you look at it, and your mind tries to comprehend, is it possible, right? So this is what happened to me. It wasn't a train wreck, it was just monumental journalistic stupidity. Like, journalists by themselves are stupid, okay? And the mother of stupid people is always pregnant. So that's not a shock, like seeing a journalist say something dumb. Like, that's their default state. But every now and then you have a journalist that's journalizing so hard that he actually says something stupid even for their level. And that just, like, mind fucks me. That gives me an aneurysm. I have, like, a trickle of blood coming from within my nose from the hemorrhage. Look at this. Right? To save money, maybe you should skip breakfast. Maybe you should shut the fuck up. How about that, journalist? Maybe you should be replaced by ChatGPT. You know, like, do I tell them how to do their job? Like maybe in order to use good articles, you have to use ChatGPT. Fucking hell. You know, the condescension is the problem. It's like, this is the type of advice that I want to get, from my friends, from my wife, like from someone else. But it's like, maybe you should starve, Have you considered starving? Like, we fucked the economy by promoting the politicians that are governing you now, right? Like, this is the press, right? We promoted these people that are ruining your lifestyle, that have fucked the economy, that is making your living conditions worse. We promoted that grandma be kept safe during COVID, stay home, stay safe, lock the businesses, fuck everyone, right? We did that. And now we're telling you maybe you should skip breakfast. But my God, these people, they have testicular cancer. The level of balls that are required, like the Dragon Balls weren't this big. The Dragon Balls weren't this big. How can, no, seriously, like imagine sitting on a chair in front of the keyboard doing the clickety-clack and typing something so dumb. And then, by the way, then they're the ones that go Pikachu face when the public dislikes them. Like when Donald Trump calls them the enemy of the people, they're like, oh, we? No. What? Why do you do this to us? We are innocent. We have done nothing to upset people. Anyway, right, these are the same individuals that went after PewDiePie, right? Like, how can you go after PewDiePie? It's like going after Barney the dinosaur. It's like going after, Mr. Rogers. Like, PewDiePie was a child entertainer, right? Like, this is what he was, because I remember, like, when he had, like, this PewDiePie meetup, it was filled with baby faces. Just, like, non-stop, like, those people didn't have a pube on them. Like, he was before the Minecraft. He was before the Roblox, right? And his content was very wholesome. It's why PewDiePie was famous, right? Like, he was a child entertainer, the same way Barney the dinosaur. Except PewDiePie didn't do the porn, I guess. No, I'm not kidding. Barney the dinosaur did porn. If you guys don't know. The actor inside the dinosaur suit, yeah, he was a porn star. Yeah, seriously, I'm not kidding. Like, people double it. No, it's not about, like, the Vosh and the lolly conversation. No, like, this is legit. The guy actually did porn when he wasn't wearing the suit, right? I don't know if he ever used the suit while doing it, but anyway, right? So, as I was saying, PewDiePie was like Barney the dinosaur without the porn. What do you mean show? I can't show it on YouTube. No, not in the costume. Like, you understand that underneath the costume there was a human being, right? Like that human being starred in porn films. What do you not understand? It's the same guy. I don't know if he did it at the same time. Like in the morning, he goes and performs for children in the dinosaur suit, and in the afternoon, he goes to the studio and films adult movies. I don't know if it was like literally in the same day, but it was the same guy. He had two jobs, yes. Like, he had two jobs, chat. I don't think he ever used the suit, though. I don't think he ever used the suit. V, will there be a stream before Dungeons and Dragons? Dungeons and Dragons is tomorrow, isn't it? Yeah, it's tomorrow. Holy shit, you gave me a heart attack. Probably, yeah, I'll probably try to stream tomorrow before Dungeons and Dragons. He was a very hard working guy. No, Barney is not actually a purple dinosaur. All right, I'm sorry to disappoint you. The Tooth Fairy isn't real. Barney isn't real. Santa Claus isn't real. Anita Sarkeesian, unfortunately, is real. Anyway, as I was saying, right? So you have like this child entertainer, PewDiePie, and the Wall Street Journal decides to make a piece against him, like decide to attack him. And as they're attacking him, they're using a journalist that also does anti-Semitic shit. Like, it took 3 Wall Street journalists to attack PewDiePie. 3 of them. 3, right? Like 3 chuckleheads to write an article. And one of them had a South Park a South Park avatar, right? Like, and by the way, like, South Park did more anti-Semitic jokes than PewDiePie. Like, South Park are the king of anti-Semitismus. Like when South Park gathers, anti-Semitismus is on the rise. So the journalist that attacks PewDiePie for anti-Semitic jokes, like South Park, you can't make this shit up. Like, it's almost in your face. And he also made anti-Semitic jokes himself on Twitter. You can't write these stories. Like, if you wanted to write these, like our children, if they will ever read history, they'll be like, how the fuck were people this stupid? How was it so easy to manipulate people? Like, I wish I was born in the 2020s, because then I could manipulate the masses. I could be rich. It's like you puppeteer people. Hy-Vee, hope all is well on your side. Thank you, American Outlier. It is. Glad to see I gave gaming back in 2013. Yes, but American Outlier, if I give you a fighting game now, you pick it up in 2 weeks, you're better than me. It doesn't matter when you give it up and when you pick it up. Okay? Also, which actor? Because Barney was played by 4 people. See, there was a referee in Romania, and he said the black guy over there, and by saying this, he actually got in trouble. I don't know if I can say that. But like, out of the 4 people that play Barney the dinosaur, the African American. Okay? That one, that actor. He did porn. I didn't know that there were 4 of them. I knew that there were 7 lassies. I knew that, but I didn't know there were 4 Barney the dinosaurs. By the way, isn't this like another thing? But wasn't there like the actor that plays in Halo complaining that you cannot portray emotion if you have a helmet on? How the fuck did Barney the dinosaur portray emotion? See, he was very expressive with that little suit. Technology is, after all, quite the new invention. Right. So, anyway, right. I'm not sure. Woke up yesterday, and Gamergate was trending. Ian Miles Chung was trending. And Kotaku was trending. Now, I don't know why Kotaku was trending, to be honest. Like, that took me by surprise. But Ian Miles Chung was trending due to the fact that he lives in Malaysia, and he expressed the fact that Israel has a right to exist. Which apparently saying that in Malaysia is sedition or something. So he's now in trouble with the Malaysian government because, like, a Malaysian mainstream media outlet is asking for his persecution. So Ian Miles Chung is trending. For those of you who don't know Ian Miles Chung, during Gamergate, he was one that turned coats. The ones that switched sides. He was an avid social justice activist and then changed his mind. So that's like why it was interesting to see him trending. Gamergate was trending because localizers have been exposed yet again. Apparently there was this localizer that came out publicly saying that he absolutely hated the production that he did localization for. And this is a trend at this point, right? Like, this is something that we come to expect, that all these individuals, like, flat out despise, they hate, they can't stand, they do not like anything that has to do with geekdom, right? So, like, anything that has to do with video games, anime, all this shit, they hate it, but they like working for it. It's so fucking bewildering. Like, imagine your life. Okay, imagine your life. Like, for instance, I don't like chemistry. I hate chemistry. It's true. I don't like it, right? Imagine being a chemist when you hate chemistry. Like, out of all the professions questions. Out of all the ways of making money, why did you choose the one that you hate the most? It doesn't make any sense, does it, chat? Yeah, you know what's missing? Trump becoming president. I mean, that happened with Gamergate, right? The journalists are still talking about it today. So, you know, we had Ian Miles Chung trending. We got Kotaku. We got Gamergate. We need Trump being president to have, like, the quadruple factor. We have the trifecta. We need to go for the quad. I don't care if they hate it or not. Just stop fucking it up. And that's the thing, is like, on one hand, they're trying, you know, like they're sabotaging their allies. That's what they're doing. They're sabotaging their buddies. There's a lot of activists now saying, like, localizers, they're not a thing. Like, they're not a thing. No one is trying to push identity politics in anime. No one is trying to change anime, right? Like, they're trying. There's even some Japanese people, right? Like those individuals, they have a culture of honor. And a culture, it's like, when you go out in public, it reflects on your family, right? And they're going out, it's like, no, the localizers are fine, right? And then you have, like, literally the next day a localizer coming up. It's like, actually, I hate your work. I hate everything about the anime. I change everything. I despise. You know? It's like, look what you're doing to the poor gaslighter. What is his family going to think? His father is probably going to disinherit him now. Reflects poorly. No, seriously, it's like trying to defend a friend. Imagine this, you know? Imagine, like, American Outlier says something sexist, and I'm like, well, actually, you know, what he said isn't really that. Like, American Outlier, I know him for a long while. He's not a sexist. And then he goes up in public and starts talking about what he thinks about Hillary Clinton. You know, it's kind of like that. It makes it worse, you know? Like, you're going to wonder, it's like, why did I stick my neck out for these people? It's, I missed the 2011-2019 internet. You know, I actually watched a video from, I think it was Forbes or Vice. But I watched the video, and basically, okay, chat, I will ask you a question. I'm curious if you know the answer, right? So, like, let me see how I should. Okay, so how do I start a poll? I need to start a poll. Engage with the chat. Okay, start a poll. So, if you drop a bowling ball and a tennis ball, which one hits the ground first? So, we have the bowling, we have the tennis, and let's add a third option, whatever. Right. So my question is this. This is a legit question, okay? Like, think about it. If I'm at the 6th floor, I'm on top of a building, there's no wind. Let's say it's a vacuum, right? So there's no forces, there's no wind, there's nothing. And I drop a bowling ball, and someone else drops a tennis ball at the same time. Which one hits the ground first? Is it the bowling ball or the tennis ball? And I watched a video about this, you know? And it was so mind-blowing, because it's like, wow, you know, like, the press used to actually make interesting articles back in the day that were scientific and actually tried to get people to think. And it was very interesting. It was very interesting for the time. Now everything is like, let me tell you about racismus, transmophobismus, sexismus. Meanwhile, people are starving, and apparently they need to stop having breakfast because, yeah. So, apparently the answer is that they dropped a bowling ball and a feather in a vacuum, right? So, like, there's no other forces. It's just nothing. There's no wind. There's nothing. It's just like a bowling ball and a feather. And what they found out is that they both fall at the same time. And it's kind of mind-blowing, you know? It's interesting. I mean, it makes sense because the thing that pulls them down is the force of gravity. And the force of gravity is the same. But, like, you tend to think that is the bowling ball that actually is great. But no. So my point is, it's like, this is what the press used to do. Like, it actually tackled interesting things. And it was an article. Which, you know, like it's not going to make you smarter, but it gets you to think. It's interesting. It stimulates the brain a little bit, right? It makes you wonder, it's like, well, why is it like that? And you think, and you remember, like, what you learned in physics during 8th grade. Yeah, they fall at the same time. That's the answer. It's neither the bowling ball nor the feather. Yeah, like a feather. Literally, they dropped a feather and a bowling ball, and they fell exactly at the same time. The bowling ball did more damage as it fell, like it broke a crate, while the feather just landed. But the answer is, yeah, like if you drop a bowling ball and a feather, they will hit the ground at exactly the same time. See, I don't know if they teach this in high school. I mean, maybe they do. I think they do, right? But like most people don't know about it. Which one weighs more? A pound of bowling balls or a pound of tennis ball? They weigh the same. That's simple. Gravity on Earth is per second square. Oh, fuck off with the second square. Jesus. There's a lot of shit that you learned in high school, but then you forget. Like, for example, the order of mathematical operations, right? Like 2 plus 2 divided by 2. Many people will say it's 2. But in reality, you have to do the division first, right? So you divide 2 by 2, and then you add with the 2, and it's 3. So, like, it's stuff like that. Like, basically, if you don't use something, like if you learn about something, but then you don't use it, you are going to forget about it, right? So it's just normal human memory. It's how our brain functions. Anyway, right, let's look at this. This one is so fucking interesting, right? So I love the fact that in the thumbnail, you also have like the person with the COVID mask. Cause this is what fucked up the economy. You know, I love it when they keep blaming it on COVID. And I'm like, first of all, it wasn't that people were dying on a job, right? It's not like the truckers, they were dying while driving and the supply chains got disrupted. No, that didn't happen, right? Like politicians told people to stay home so that their businesses get shut down. That's what happened. It's not COVID, it's politicians. And I was even making the joke like there's an alternate universe in which the virus is going on a podium to teach people how it is going to save us from the government. And ironically, do you know what cured COVID? Putin invading Ukraine. The next day, all of the measures went lifted. All of a sudden, life came back to normal. So, apparently, several breakfast staples saw sharp price increases due to a perfect storm of bad weather and disease outbreaks and continued effects from Russia's invasion in Ukraine. Egg prices are up. And apparently, from a month earlier, they went to 70.1% over the past year, to the highest annual rate since 1973. Wow, congratulations. The deadliest avian influenza on record devastated poultry across the US, leading an increase into the price of eggs. So what what the Wall Street Journal is doing here is not providing adequate context. The issue isn't that the prices of eggs have gone up. The issue is that everything has gone up. Name me something that hasn't gone up. Everything is up. It's not just like, oh, the price of eggs. No, everything is up. The price of gas is up. The price of chocolate. The price of hamburgers. And it's not only that, right? It's also shrinkflation. So, like, while everything is up, you also get less shit. You get less potato chips. You get, probably you get even less eggs in the box. I don't know if they shrunk the box as well. I wouldn't be surprised. But look how disingenuous they are. Look, it's like, oh yeah, well, it's because of Russia's invasion of Ukraine. No, you know what they forget to tell you? They forget to tell you that the prices were going up even before the Russian invasion in Ukraine. I mean, don't get me wrong, it was bad. And then when Russia invaded Ukraine, it got worse. But no, it's the money printing, the government spending. That's what made it worse. Frozen, non-carbonated juices and drinks, a category that includes frozen oranges, rose by 1.5%. Breakfast cereal increased more modestly in January from a month earlier. Breakfast lovers. I love the fact, breakfast lovers. Who the fuck hates breakfast? Breakfast lovers. What terminology is this? You're supposed to eat 3 meals a day if you want to stay healthy. You're supposed to eat breakfast, lunch, and dinner. unironically, right? Like, if you don't want to be fat, there's a lot of controversy based on the type of diet that people should have. Like you're going to have. No, I will tell you this. I noticed this on the internet. No matter what diet you have, okay? It doesn't matter. No matter how good it is for you, no matter if you lose weight, there's always going to be a chucklehead that tells you, no, you're doing it wrong, right? So there's going to be people saying, no, you need to do Atkins diet. And then there's going to be someone else that goes like, no, you need more carbs. And then there's going to be, no, you need to eat meat. Oh, take the soy away. You know, like, no matter what diet you have, there's going to be 6 or 7 different people that are going to tell you that you're dieting wrong. Even if you're saying, hey, I lost 10 kilograms, they're going to be like, nay. Like a horse in front of Vosh. So, the one thing that all people with diets agree, right? Like even the vegan diet, the dietitian will agree. The Atkins dietitian will agree. Every single person is going to agree that you need to eat at least 3 meals a day, right? So if you want to lose weight, the worst thing you can do is to eat 1 meal a day, right? So if you eat one copious meal, regardless of the diet that you have, intermittent fasting, whatever, it doesn't matter, right? You need to eat 3 meals a day. So basically what the Wall Street Journal is saying, breakfast lovers, is basically saying non-fat people. It is true though, like seriously, one of the worst things that I had when I was losing weight, like this was the worst thing. It wasn't like the quality of food, it wasn't the quantity. It was the frequency that I had to eat. I think it was like 3 to 4 meals a day. It's so annoying. My God, it is so difficult because it's like, oh God, time to cook again. Oh, I need to go cook. Oh shit, I need to go. Like it was very, and not to mention, if you actually have like an office job or something like that where you have to work like 10 hours at the office, it's almost impossible. So basically what they're trying to do is to get the population fat. Like if you're telling people don't eat breakfast, you're telling them to get fat. Breakfast cereal increase more modesty. So breakfast lovers might be better just having a cup of coffee, but go with roasted, not instant, because the prices have rose. This is like a very disgusting piece of article, right? It's disingenuous because it ignores the fact that all the prices have rose, not just the breakfast, right? Like you can write the exact same article for lunch, you can write the exact same article for dinner, and you can write the exact same article for sex toys. It doesn't matter. Everything has gone up. Everything. Because the price of gas has gone up. Because the first thing that Biden did when he got into office, he shut down the fucking Keystone Pipeline. That is just like number one, right? Number two, blaming it on the pandemic. No, it's not the pandemic. Pandemic didn't kill people while they were at the workplace. The pandemic didn't shut down the Keystone Pipeline. The pandemic didn't start printing money. It wasn't like one day they got into the Fed and they were like, oh my God, the money printing is going on. What's happening? Like COVID is into the printing press. Anyway, it is what it is. Let me bust through some super chats really quick. YouTube, I had the stream up since before 3. It doesn't play sound until I click on it just now, so I missed 15 minutes. I'm sorry to hear that, Lexion. V, does the racismus get you thinking? Yeah, but it has to be high quality racismus, not the racismus that the Wall Street Journal is whining about. Like, that is just low-grade racismus. I heard everything that the woke have to say about racismus. I can predict their racismus before they open their mouth. It has to be some high-quality level of racismus. Listening to you as I'm cleaning my apartment, you know, far-right activities. They are far-right Midwest finest. They absolutely are. By the way, there's this video, V, you started to make me upset with this, LOL. I remember explaining this to my family members. It's basic economics, and look at me like I have 3 eyes. And then in black people fashion, when the women talk, they believe her nonsense. Yeah, it's, I mean, look, you can give them this. I will make a video on my main channel as well for individuals that are trying to have a conversation with the woke nephew. You know, like the Wall Street Journal is making like these videos and they're saying how to have a conversation with your racist uncle. I need to make videos that say how to have a conversation with your woke nephew now. So, Milton Friedman, inflation. Milton Friedman explains it so good. It's very difficult to not understand it.
Let me show you how we do stuff.
Department uses Monday.com, so...
Unfortunately, Milton Friedman wasn't a Democrat, so I don't know if your family is going to listen to him.
Deep freeze. He left all his
Hold on. I need to find the one where he actually explains the inflation. Ah, here we go. Right. This is wonderful. This is omoshiroi. Look at it. Dude, even that music, it's like kindergarten for children. This is the best video you can show people that don't understand the economy, right? It's got even like a catchy music so that they pay attention. It's got bright colors. It's like it's made for kids. I don't know why it's not on YouTube Kids. I think it should be there, but let's listen to it.
Yes.
In a recent interview of U.S. News and World Report, Secretary of the Treasury Blumenthal blamed our current rising inflation in a large part on our foreign trade and unions. He did, however, say that the government was little to blame. Would you like to comment on that?
Yes. Unfortunately, it is one of the defects of our political system that we always put a Secretary of the Treasury and other high government officials into a position in which, when they make public statements, they are almost driven. Well, what's the word I want to use? I want to use a polite word, equivocate. Secretary Blumenthal knows as well as you and I do that inflation does not come from trade unions. That doesn't mean that trade unions aren't grasping. Of course they are. But they don't produce inflation for one simple reason. They do not own a printing press on which you can turn out green pieces of paper. The only such printing press is in Washington. I say printing press, of course, in the modern age we do it in a more sophisticated way. We use bookkeepers and accountants and computers. But it comes down to the same thing. Inflation is made in Washington because only Washington can create money. And any other attribution to other groups of inflation is wrong. Consumers don't produce it. Producers don't produce it. The trade unions don't produce it. Foreign sheiks don't produce it. Oil imports don't produce it. What produces it is too much government spending and too much government creation of money and nothing else. Yes, sir.
Right? I mean, I don't think it can be more clear than that. I don't think that there is anything else that can be added to that speech. It's perfect. There's nothing left to be added. That's not Yuri. Holy shit, that's Milton. Milton Friedman is the guy that the World Economic Forum despises. So I want you to understand the history of Milton Friedman, right? And Pinochet. It actually is tied, Milton Friedman and Pinochet. You have the Soviet Union taking over Chile. And things are going bad. You know, you have like the controlled economy. You have like economic disaster. People started protesting. You have the March of Empty Pots in Chile. Truckers are striking. They're paralyzing the state. Socialists start to shoot. The carnage has begun, right? So now you have Americans with the CIA, and in this case it was the CIA that overthrew the Chilean government. And they support Pinochet, right? And they create the first ever and only, I think, in the entire history of mankind, authoritarian libertarian regime. They force people to be free, basically, right? Like, you have to be free. So the authoritarian libertarian regime pretty much worked like they were authoritarian in ideology, so they don't allow you to be a communist. Like, if you're a communist, the regime persecutes you. But other than that, you can trade however you want. So you know, they're not interested in what business you have and how you trade and what prices you put and everything like that. Free market. But they're interested in how you think, right? Like, they're thought policing you like the woke, except they're only persecuting you if they suspect you're a commie. So, like, human rights violations, crackdown, like, it's authoritarian in that nature. But they allow you to have free market, right? Like, if you have a product and you want to sell it for however, they don't care. And what happens is it's called the miracle of Chile. Why is it called the miracle of Chile? Because all the nations around Chile are shitholes when it comes to their wealth, their human rights abuses. I mean, most of the other nations were preventing people from leaving. Like that's how you know things are bad in a nation. When the borders close and people aren't allowed to leave, that's when it's bad. That's when it's really, really bad. So anyway, right, CIA juntas are not free or prosperous ever. This is an exception. I don't know. Like, I'm not saying that the CIA is entirely responsible. But what I do know is that, objectively speaking, when you look at the wealth and the living standards of the people that lived under the Pinochet regime and you compare it with the countries around it, right? So we're not comparing it with, like, the ideal society. We're not comparing it with, no. We're comparing it with the neighboring states. I find it difficult to believe that anyone, if given the opportunity, would choose to live in one of the neighboring countries rather than Chile, right? So, again, I'm not talking about Brazil. I'm talking specifically about Chile. I'm talking just like in this particular situation. Now, when you look at how did he do it, like what was the economic solution to make the nation prosperous? It was the Chicago boys, right? And the Chicago boys had the same school of thought as Milton Friedman. So that is like why the World Economic Forum despises Milton Friedman. I explained this to the not work for work, but how the government does it. Remember, I am a libertarian. They completely captured by the Democratic Party. I'm really curious, you know, like, the American Outlier points me such a grim picture about his family. I'm curious, like, if a white Democrat goes to visit, like, how would they react? Since the government fucked it up, they should force deflation. No, it's difficult to unfuck it. Like, that's the problem with the economy, right? Like, if you were to go back now to the same prices that you had in 2020, you would cause an economic disaster. The thing with the economy is very easy to fuck it. It's very difficult to unfuck it. Usually the way they unfuck it is when inflation is so high, they just cut like 4 zeros from the dollar bill. They did that in Romania, right? So like we had the $10,000 bill and now it became the $1 bill. So they just cut the zeros from the bill. And it's technically like the same cash, right? But like, and it mind fucks the people because like people would say like, oh, this costed before $50,000 and now it's just like $5, right? And you have to adjust yourself to the new way of thinking. You're showing bigotrismos. The government can print unlimited money and it won't do anything. The thing is, okay, so there is an exception to inflation, and this is what America actually banked on. The US dollar is the world reserve currency for many reasons, but also it's due to the petrodollar. Like basically if Romania wants to buy oil, right? You gotta buy oil from the Saudis, and the Saudis only sell in dollars, right? So like for Romania, you have to obtain dollars first, and once you obtain the dollars, you use those to trade for oil. And there's many other ways, but like this is like one of the most important one. But suffice to say is that the US dollar is the world currency. In other words, everyone wants it, right? So Americans, you guys want dollars because you have to pay your taxes in dollars, right? So like if you have a job, if you have a business, you need to have dollars in order to avoid going to prison because you have to pay your taxes, right? So America, even if like the dollar doesn't have a gold backing, like even if it's not valuable and it's just a piece of paper, it gains value because it keeps you out of prison. If you have a job, you have to pay your taxes and you pay them in dollars. People outside of America want dollars because, well, if you want American services, you gotta pay in dollars. And secondly, it's for the oil, the petrodollar, the world reserve currency, right? So the idea is that if America starts printing money like crazy, other countries want your money, right? So like you're basically throwing it out. You're printing it and you're like, take it. So when America prints like crazy, inflation isn't as bad as if Germany was to print like crazy, right? So well, not Germany because they're using the euro. Let's say if Romania was to print like crazy, right? Because when Romania starts printing money, very few people outside of Romania want Romania's currency. Like you don't need Romanian RON in order to purchase oil. You don't use it as a world currency, right? If Romania starts printing money, the inflation only affects Romania. When the United States prints money, the inflation affects the whole fucking world, but it affects it at a smaller scale, basically, right? So like when you guys went ham and started printing more than, like, I think it was like more than 50% of the entire dollars printed in its entire history of the United States, the inflation started to actually be noticeable, and it was noticed around the world. And I think it's like around 20% just by the American dollar, right? The problem is that many nations that notice this, like you're weaponizing the dollar, many nations are now moving away or trying to move away from the dollar as the world reserve. So you're going to see the yuan becoming more and more popular, not by much, but the trend is there, right? So like in a couple of decades, the trend is definitely going to grow. Russia is not using the dollar not because of choice, but because you guys forced them. So they're going to start using the ruble, and they're going to start to use the yuan as well. The thing with Russia, though, is like the sanctions for Russia are going to be really crippling in the next decades or so. But after that, I do think that they're a large nation. They have ample resources. So if they start to industrialize themselves, they're going to be a strong competitor, and they're not going to be using dollars. So it's a two-edged blade. I think like most of the American politicians, they're backing on the fact that they won't be alive when that happens. The Biden government has recently introduced 34 rules to reduce inflation. I don't fucking care what the Biden government has to say for the public. That they are dishonest, disingenuous. I mean, these are the people that right now they're saying that the economy is going well. I mean, I understand, I respect a gaslighter as much as the next guy, especially when the price of gas is so high. And there are certain things that you can gaslight with. Like, for instance, you can say that unemployment is very low. I can't fact check that, right? Like, if the government tells me that unemployment is low, unless I'm a millionaire and I can hire my own think tank in order to study the market and to give me the data, I have to trust the government, right? I mean, even if I don't have a job, and even if I'm struggling to find a job, and even if literally every one of my friends would be struggling to find employment, you can still say, well, yeah, but it's just like us, in other jobs, in other fields, in other cities, in other towns, like, things are different. So it's not like that, right? Like, it's very difficult to fact check if the government is gaslighting you about employment. But when they're gaslighting you that the economy is going fine, well, that's easy to fact check. I mean, if the economy is going fine, why am I spending 3 times as much on groceries than I used to spend in 2020? If the economy is doing fine, why is PayPal firing staff? I mean, PayPal is a company which deals with trading. If everything is fine, people would trade more rather than less. If the economy is fine, why is almost every single major company firing people? Why are entertainment companies firing people? Like entertainment companies, they usually make more money when the economy is great, because that's when people have money for entertainment. When people are starving, they're stingy, and they don't have money to go to Disney. So when you gaslight someone, it's like, oh, the economy is fine, then I stop believing you. Like, like, there are certain things when you can say, well, V, you're wrong because the data. But as I said, like, if you go outside and it's a storm, right? Like, you're soaking wet because you went outside. And all the meteorologists have, like, the scientific consensus that it's sunny. I piss on their scientific consensus. I don't fucking care. Like, their scientific consensus is horseshit. They're either literally imbeciles that I don't know how they got their jobs, or they're malevolent, and they're trying to mislead me. They're trying to lie to me. One of those has to be the case because clearly outside it's stormy. Am I not making sense? Because I keep having like all these David Pacman clones coming up to me and saying, well, actually, the economy is great. You just don't know. It's my favorite take is Dev. Like, one of his potential reasons on why people say the economy is great is because they get radicalized on social media. And I'm like, motherfucker. Like, you want to tell me that everything is fine, right? Like, I'm actually having an amazing life, and my standard of living has never been better. But I go online, and people say, oh, no, the economy is shit. And I'm like, oh, God damn it, they have a point. Like, I'm incapable to evaluate the lifestyle that I had in 2020 with the lifestyle that I have now 4 years later. Like, is this the thing? Jesus fucking Christ. Like seriously, this Trump derangement syndrome is absolutely ridiculous. Like, I understand gaslighting, and I respect it. But, like, at least gaslight with things that can't be fact-checked. The ruble is tied to natural gas, so America decided to manipulate commodity prices to hurt Russia, which also hurt Saudi Arabia. Yeah, I know, like, the Sauds are really upset with the Biden administration. I think, like, throughout the history of America, ever since you had the petrodollar, the Sauds never said anything to the U.S., right? Like, America was like, raise the gas prices, and the Sauds were like, yes, sir. America was like, lower the gas prices, and the Sauds were like, yes, sir. Only until the Biden administration did the Sauds start going, it's like, you know what? Maybe you should go fuck yourself. There was like that article. I don't know if you guys remember it, but it was like in the beginning, and it just like went into the news for a little bit, but they didn't focus on it, where the Saudi king was refusing to pick up the phone for Biden. Like, in a diplomatic environment, right? Like, when it comes to international diplomacy, that is just incredibly disrespectful. That is like pretty much like telling the person to fuck off, right? So, because it's not like you know, like that he couldn't get to the phone, it's not like, right? So the reason for it were actually threefold. Number one is what you said with America manipulating commodity prices, right? The second one is the green environmentalist bullshit where they constantly just fuck with the gas producers, right? So, like, when you go campaigning and you're like, yeah, we're going to be against oil. Well, the country in the world that has only, like, oil to export, because, like, what else is Saudi Arabia exporting? It's in the middle of the fucking desert. They're not like Ukraine to export grain and stuff, right? Like, they're not exporting anything besides oil. Well, they export something else, but I can't say it on YouTube because of TOS. However, right, you're basically telling that country, yeah, we're coming for your income. We're going to destroy your... And they're your allies, right? So that was, like, the second thing. And the third thing is, like, the United States had a deal with Saudi Arabia, and it was, you give us oil, in exchange we give you military protection. And there were a couple of terrorist attacks in Saudi Arabia at the beginning of the Biden administration, and America was supposed to do something about it, and they did jack shit. So, like, all of these three things really pissed off the Sauds, and I think, like, they started negotiating on selling oil without dollars, right? So, like, I think it was with the yuan or something. But just so you can understand the thing that the Biden administration is doing. No, they don't export sand. They export something else. I think it was like in Romania, one of our muftis. Like, we actually do have a mufti in Romania. There's a history for that, but basically he's telling us, yeah, there's like these 7 7 Wahhabi imams that are very radical. They're coming from Saudi Arabia. Yeah, we recommend you don't let them in because they're going to foster extremism. So they got turned back at the border. But like, if you were to stop oil, right? Like, if overnight you were to find a different energy source, like let's say you invent fusion, and people don't need oil anymore. I mean, Saudi Arabia would become like the Congo. Like, for those of you who don't know history, the Congo kings at some point were one of the richest nations in the world, right? So like the Congo kings in Africa, they were the ones that were capturing slaves, and they were selling them to the Portuguese. And the Portuguese would then sell them off either to the Atlantic slave trade, or they would sell them off to the Muslims, right? Like the idea that many Americans have that, you know, it was the Europeans or the Muslims that would go into Africa and capture slaves, that is inherently wrong. Like, that is not how it happened. How it happened is, like, you had the Congo kings in Africa, and they had the military required to capture people and sell them off as slaves to the Europeans and the Muslims. And they had a monopoly on the slave trade, right? It was them and the Portuguese. Like, if you go into Portugal right now, in some of their museums, you will see paintings with the Congo kings, right? So, when the British Empire says enough slavery, the Congo kings were desperate. Because, like, it was the only thing that they were exporting. They had nothing else to export. Nothing else that, you know, they didn't industrialize. They didn't learn navigation. They focused almost entirely on the slave trade. So once you took the slave trade away, they became one of the poorest nations in the world, right? It's the same thing with Saudi Arabia. Like Saudi Arabia and Qatar and the other Middle Eastern nations, they're exporting oil right now. If you were to ever discover an alternative energy source that's not oil, those nations would become some of the poorest nations on earth. Because they don't have what else to trade. They don't have what else to export. I remember that because Biden called the Saudi prince a murderer because a journalist was killed, so that didn't do Biden any favors. Yeah, I mean, there's many such cases. I don't know why, because I don't think it's like Biden himself dislikes the Saudi king, right? Like, I don't think like Biden one day woke up and said, you know what, I don't like this guy. I think like there's a policy within the Democrat Party that they want to move away from Saudi Arabia for some reason. I don't know why. They don't have like the same thing with Qatar. They don't have the same thing with other nations. It's just like with the Sauds. They just decided to make relationships a little bit worse. And to be honest, you know, they're having bad relationships with Israel as well. Like, they're having bad relationships with Benjamin Netanyahu. But to be honest, it's a little bit more complex there. Like, the situation is a little bit more difficult. There have been like rumors that, well, actually I shouldn't say it on YouTube. Whatever. But let's say that the worsening of relationships between it's not really like worsening as in it's bad as it is with the Saudi, but it's like, let's put it this way, it's not as good as it used to be. Right? I think like this is a way that I can put it in. And it's coming from the Israel side. Like Israel is cashing some favors recently that is making the American government uncomfortable. So it's kind of like that. And this is going to lead in the long term to negative relations. Not negative as in the same way you have between America and Russia or America and China. But like, not as good. Right? They're going to go down rather than up. Oil isn't worth as much as people think it is. What are you talking about? Oil is almost like whenever the price of oil goes up, everything goes up. Right? So like, if oil goes up, everything at the supermarket costs more because things don't teleport at the supermarket. Neither do they sprout from the supermarket. They're put there with trucks. Right? So like when the cost of oil goes up, the cost of truckers goes up, which means that the final product, what you get in the supermarket, goes up. They just gave them 90 billion. Yeah, I know. They did give them 90 billion. But you know, like it's one of the things when you give money to someone and you're a little bit annoyed. Like you're not very happy with what you're doing. You're a little bit grumpy. You're like, it's kind of when you're asking too much, you know, and you're starting to be like, Not to mention, like, the whole thing with Israel, it's affecting the Democratic Party as well, because now there's a big split within the Democratic Party, right? Like, you have people that are, they're basically looking at Benjamin Netanyahu as a straight, cisgendered, white male that is running a capitalist, imperialist nation. That's what the leftists consider. And a lot of them, you know, like that. I mean, let me put it this way. The level of anti-Semitism on campuses are coming from the left. They're not coming from the right. And Americans don't like that. It's like, why are you splitting our party apart? Why, you know, like, we have an election, and you're kind of fucking with our voting base? Like, it's not okay. Dutch East India Company flag is banned from the replica ship in Amsterdam. I didn't know that. That is hilarious, though. NATO needs to pay the United States for protecting shipping lanes. Yeah, the thing with shipping lanes, my God. This is the so if you look at the history of America, like America tolerates a lot of things, and I said this on another stream, but like you can get away with many things with America, right? Like they're very tolerant, understanding people until you fuck with the trading ships. Like there is something about those trading ships. They're like the sacred cows. I don't know what exactly, but like the moment you fuck with the trading ships, you have the entire American empire descend upon you. Like, I remember watching last time it happened, you had like those guys flying in Black Hawk helicopters, like state-of-the-art technology. And you had like the pirates in their little dingy boats, you know, like some very shoddy craftsmanship. And the helicopter were like, brr, brr, and that's it, you know? And I'm like, surely you could have... Like, let me put it this way. If those were immigrants, and they were coming to the shores of America for a better life, America wouldn't act like that, you know? Or if, let's say they would want to turn them back, they would have had peaceful ways of doing that. But when it's about the trading boats, when it's about the ships, and there was no one in the press complaining, by the way, right? Like you know when Italy decided to turn around migrants. And all of a sudden, they were like, oh my God, you know, like those people drowned and it's like horrible. Okay. The press was talking about that 24/7. But when America was gunning down, and again, like these pirates, I mean, you look at them, they were skin and bones with like the most flimsy rafts that you can ever construct. And America just didn't give any shit. It's like, no, you can't even near a merchant vessel. And they're not asking questions. It's like the same energy wasn't just displayed anywhere else, is what I'm saying, right? It is just like they tried to shoot the motor. Most of them didn't even have a fucking motor. Like they were just like rafts and dinghies and stuff. I don't even know if you can. Like if you manage to shoot a rotor on that from an Apache, from a Black Hawk helicopter, you must be the world's best sniper. The Fat Electrician has some awesome videos explaining why you don't fuck with American boats. You don't fuck with American boats because the supply chain of any empire is the lifeblood of the empire. So basically, if you fuck with the boats, all the prices go up. This is what happened during COVID. They fucked with the boats. But they fucked with the boats because they wanted to, right? So like all of a sudden you notice shortages. It's like, oh, well, there's a chip shortage. Do you guys remember that? Like they started making new cars and they changed the clock on the car from digital to analog because they didn't have chips, right? So like all of a sudden everything goes up. It's like, oh, well, the PlayStations, the new PlayStation is coming up, but there's not enough. There's not enough, and the people that got the first one, they're the lucky ones, and now you have individuals that are robbing trucks filled with PlayStations on the highway because PlayStation prices are phenomenally high. I think like at one point you could get a PlayStation for $5,000 if I remember correctly. Right? Why was this? It was because of the fucking shortages. It was because of the supply chains, right? And that only affected what they considered to be non-essential. Now imagine if like all the supply chains got fucked. Oh no, the clock on my car is analog. That's not the fucking point. The point is that you would never consider that you have an analog clock because they couldn't afford to make a digital one. Like that was the issue. It wasn't like they put an analog clock on your car. The problem is that they couldn't, even if they wanted to, put a digital one. Like the digital one was so rare because of the shortages. That was the issue. It's not like, oh, well, I'm stuck with an analog. Yeah, that's not the problem that you have an analog one. So basically, yeah. Now the thing with the boats, right? Because like, if the pirates take a merchant vessel, that's not a big deal. I mean, it is for the merchants on board, right? But like in macroeconomical level, it's not affecting anything. The problem is like if you're a company that is like a trading company, right? And all of a sudden, one boat got hijacked. Well, now you lost a lot of money. Now you have to pay people, right? Your insurance is going up. And it's not just one boat. Now you lose 2. Now you lose 3. And it keeps happening. So what do? Well, you use a different trading route. So now it's more expensive for everything. And it takes more time. And you're fucking up with the supply chains. So that's why they don't really tolerate anyone messing with the boats. But yeah, anyway. I need to go upload my videos now. Tomorrow, I'm going to play Dungeons and Dragons with Rags, and I'll probably make a stream before that, so I'll see you guys there. Thank you for watching. I hope you guys were entertained, and I'll see you tomorrow. Take care.